Hello, and welcome to BIA's Leading Local Insights podcast, your go-to spot for staying ahead in the dynamic local advertising marketplace. You'll hear BIA's top experts and their distinguished guests break down the trends, technologies, and innovations reshaping local media. Plus, you'll frequently get highlights from BIA's U.S. local advertising forecast. Thanks for tuning in. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to BIA Advisory Services Leading Local Insights podcast. My name is Rick Ducey. I'm the Managing Director here at BIA Advisory Services. Today, I'm fortunate to speak with Jay Loeffler from Valpak to discuss the direction of the local advertising economy in the second half of this year. So far, the first half of 2025 has provided us with valuable insights, shall we say, into the stress points induced by policy changes in the local business and advertising sectors, among every other sector, basically. We've also seen both the intended and unintended consequences of these policy decisions and ramifications flowing from them occurring at a pace and a scale that likely have not been experienced before. We always like to say this is the first time we've faced these circumstances. It's the worst ever, but it is a confusing time. I think you won't find any argument with that. So Jay, welcome back to BIA's podcast. I really enjoyed the insights and data you shared with us and our audience last fall. Much of what you and Nicole at the time had anticipated hasn't come to pass because we've been busy doing other things with the world that kind of changed the whole environment. And it's led to some confusion and some questioning as to who's thinking what and who might do what. But we have some good insights there, thanks to some of the work you've been doing with your team at Valpak. We're facing a landscape shaped by rapidly changing trends in the local advertising industry, the shifting macroeconomic policies that are affecting businesses of all sizes. So our discussion, I think, is very well timed since you have just released a survey looking at these exact issues from the perspective of local businesses and their marketing plans. The report title is Valpak 2025. Local Business Economic Outlook Report. I mean, who does not want to read that? So we'll get a nice preview with this today. The study provides valuable insights into the thoughts of advertisers and the effects of the current environment on their spending decisions. So Jay, I believe that most people in America have familiar with the Valpak brand. You've played a key role in the development and evolution and success of the company, having been with the company for over 18 years, and now you're serving as the Chief Sales Officer. No easy position, but it's clear to me that you're one of the most respected experts in the field, not only in direct mail, but in local media channels and local marketing as a whole. So Jay, thank you so much for coming back to join us, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation here. Please hello to our audience.
Oh, thank you so much for the fantastic introduction, Rick. It's truly a pleasure to be here today.
That's wonderful. So for our audience, you will get to know Jay very well over the course of the next several minutes while we cover some really important questions, I think, if you don't know Jay. So this survey I mentioned, Jay, let's start with a little bit of a background. Clearly, people don't know what's going on. And even if you do today, it changes tomorrow, somewhere between the administration, the court system, whatever Wall Street thinks it's going to do next. And, businesses trying to operate, figuring out what the loans are going to look like, what customer purchasing behavior and psychology is going to look like. There's so much going on. So it's like awesome that you guys have done this survey. Let's frame that a bit. What is the survey trying to address, and how did you go about doing it?
Sure, absolutely. So the purpose of the survey was to measure the impact of macro uncertainty due to tariff implications, inflation, higher costs on local businesses, and more importantly, how they're adapting and planning for these changes. So most of our respondents were small business owners, fewer than 20 employees, and less than $1 million in annual revenue, across a variety of industries from retail to home services.
And that's, I think people may know this, but just to drive the point home, that really is the economic foundation of American business. I mean, these businesses are a huge part of the overall economy.
Yeah, I like to say Valpak has its finger on the pulse of local economy. We have about 65,000 advertisers combined across our entire footprint, across over 120 markets. So being able to interact locally with these businesses and hear from them directly really gives us kind of a good indication of where things are headed.
So now that we've got the foundation of the survey, why you did it, what you're trying to find out, and we'll get into the findings in a moment, let me offer some BIA data to kind of frame this a little bit. We're forecasting that this year, 2025, about just under 21% of the just over $171 billion, and that's been targeting local audiences by these businesses and really all businesses. But about 21% will be allocated to direct mail, squarely in Valpak space. And I know you guys do other stuff as well as direct mail. We'll learn more about that. So that's about $35.5 billion, that industry, up almost $1 billion from 2024. So with all the challenges going on, we're still seeing growth. And historically, the direct mail part of the media channel mix in local advertising has always been number one. From time to time, mobile advertising, local mobile advertising, will kind of peek its head above the line and take first place. And we're showing that for 2025, that mobile will be a bit above direct mail, but clearly direct mail is foundational in local businesses' marketing mix. So that's really interesting. In the survey of your recent businesses, one of the things you ask is, okay, how do you guys go to market in terms of advertising, and what media channels do you use? And 44% of the businesses use or have used direct mail, and about 57% have or are using mobile. So that kind of syncs up with our estimate of spending that mobile maybe peaked a bit ahead, at least for 2025. Do you see, and these aren't mutually exclusive, of course. I mean, so when I think of Valpak, and I get my friendly Valpak mailer and, open it up and see what's inside. So like Valpak has a certain identity with me. But from a business perspective, these days, particularly businesses have learned you have to be multi-platform and have a campaign that goes across multiple channels. That's something that you at Valpak are certainly aware of and facilitate that. So the two biggest local media channels, direct mail and mobile, how does that work? What did you find from your survey or just in your direct experience working with Valpak and your client base?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And we recommend a multi-touch engagement, and the goal should be to connect with the consumer when and where they want to be reached. With direct mail, there's been a resurgence in the relevance of the mailbox since COVID, as more customers are ordering packages delivered to their home. I know I get at least 4 Amazon deliveries a day. That tangible touch point is a critical step in the shopper journey, and it reinforces other media tactics that extend the conversation and deliver action. So pairing direct mail with mobile display further increases brand recall and engagement. So one key differentiator in our approach is our use of our data stack, which has over 1 billion different data attributes on all US households. We use this data to not only power our direct mail, but we target impressions in display and mobile geofenced environments. We could target IP level, we could target residential addresses using similar data attributes to our direct mail program. So we eliminate waste and we create a halo effect of known Valpak households receiving an impression on their desired device. This approach, it helps us achieve about a 5 to 8 time industry average consumer action rate. So one example of this approach, to give a blinded example here, is a paving company in the Midwest. We leveraged a custom lookalike model using life stage, lifestyle, demographic, and psychographic attributes to target the best homes in our direct mail product. Then we overlaid a display campaign with retargeting. What made this unique is not only that we used the same lookalike model in print as we did in display, but we ensured we were only targeting homeowners with residential targeting within their serviceable areas. So the combined impact of direct mail and display decreased their cost per lead, increased their return on ad spend, and drove more than an 8-time consumer action rate than their previous digital provider.
That's pretty amazing. And I was going to ask you, you talked about engagement and performance. I was going to ask you, how do you see that? And so you answered that, and those metrics are really impressive. I do wonder, though, I mean, for these businesses, a lot of these businesses are fairly small businesses, and what you just described is incredibly powerful and drives results, clearly. But does that require a level of sophistication that businesses don't have, or do you help them out with that?
So that's the greatest part, is we made it super easy. So we actually call the digital element our Advantage Connect program. And we handle everything soup to nuts, turnkey, from data targeting. On the print side, we handle print, postage, and distribution. On the digital side, we have an expert team here that finds the best targeting based on our 50 years of categorical insights, offer data, what we've seen in real-time response for those particular verticals. So we essentially pre-package everything and give the insights and guidance to say, this is the best solution. This is what you shouldn't do. We want to advise what not to do as much as what to do. These are the typical offers that work best in your space. And this is how digital works best with direct mail. And they're not always the same thing. So when we put that together in a good, better, best type scenario, we really take the burden of having to understand a lot of the product intricacies off the advertiser and allow them to do what they do best, nail salon, making pizza, and we become their advertising, essentially advisor. So it's a really great, powerful tool that we were able to create here.
That sounds like great synergy, complementarity. They do what they do best, and they get to leverage what you bring as they're trying to get to market to drive the top of the funnel, as well as retargeting and keeping people already in their, customer base coming back for more. So that's all excellent. Now you mentioned digital. I talked a little bit about mobile. The kind of flashy news these days is connected TV.
Yep.
And CTV. There's so many different acronyms in there: CTV, OTT, FAST, AVOD, SVOD, hybrid AVOD, EIO, DTC. So without getting into necessarily all the nuances, but the nuances are important. You at Valpak, see that media channel, CTV, as important. And how do you bring that into the mix for your clients? How do you decide when to do it, and how do you do it?
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's a brave endeavor. It's more so necessary. We want to provide all of the tools for local businesses to give them where the consumer wants to be reached. So CTV is one because more consumers are cutting the cord. CTV ads are growing and traditional TV, ads can't. They're delivering non-skippable, immersive content that reaches a broad audience of potential consumers. So we approach CTV with a unique data proposition that leverages our first-party data. And really what's unique to us, we have 400 local sales reps that have local knowledge of the account of the market across the country. So we leverage that expertise, and we combine that with real-time reporting and constant optimization. So again, it's our industry-leading data set and our people that really allow us to be very competitive in the space. And it's all about driving optimal results and having Valpak really be the advertising agency that advises on all of the tools, reaching the right consumers, whether it's direct mail, CTV, digital. We want to become a full service solution for all of our local partners.
Yeah, we at BIA track 16 or 17 different media channels, and the spending across those, if we forecast that out, like historically for comparative purposes, there's a lot going on in the local marketplace. And for small, medium businesses that don't have the internal resources to figure it all out and be smart about it, especially since so much now is data-driven and optimization around KPIs and performance metrics, the kinds of things you're describing must be highly valued by your customer base. I'm sure you have a high retention rate and a high satisfaction rate. I guess drifting up a bit, if you will, to, I don't know what level, 20,000 feet or 30,000 feet. So we're talking about a specific part of business. But in your survey, you also asked some of the macro questions like, business leader, what are you thinking about in terms of inflation, rising costs, margins, supply chain, your consumer psychology? Are they going to buy? Are they going to hold off? There was a lot of probably uplift in buying and selling in the first quarter, maybe even the first half, because people expected tariffs and trade policies to really take effect in the second half for sure. So was buying accelerated into the first half, and the second half is going to be slower, or is it going to be tariffs on today and then the courts say tariffs off tomorrow? There's so much on these business leaders' minds, and you explored that in the survey. What kind of things did you take away from those sets of questions in the survey?
Yeah, so one point I want to make to our previous conversation, which I think leads in here, one thing that we really have tried to expand as a company is not only giving the tools for all the different media touch points, but we've been building really robust tracking and attribution capabilities. Yeah. So in direct mail, the use of QR codes and call tracking numbers, setting up test versus control using data to make sure we're driving sales lift. In the digital channels, we have a program called Advisor that we launched, which is a emerging self-provision tool that allows you to track real-time click-through rates and performance. So we feel it's as important to be transparent and show the attribution of how we deliver as much as it is to recommend the media strategies themselves. And I
Right.
think that really fits with where we're going here. So some of the insights we've seen, the biggest takeaway is that there's real concern surrounding rising costs, growth, expansion, cash flow, but it's not all doom and gloom. I think 44% from what we found from the survey have a positive view of the economy. So not not less than the baseline there. It's 44%, but 61% feel confident that revenue will increase over the next year. So as the tariff seesaw goes back and forth, it's creating short-term anxiety,
All right.
but growth is expected in the next year. And 55% of businesses say they will expand their operations, and 78% say marketing is more important than ever, and attracting new customers is the number one priority. So all of us in media, it's a great opportunity to help use our expertise and guide best offers, value proposition, tracking to make sure that we're maximizing best use of that spend. And that comes with the upfront targeting, the right solution at the right time. And then, as I previously mentioned, all the tracking tools to make sure they have complete visibility for how all their dollars are working for them.
And all their dollars working for them. Let me pick up on that a bit. I guess it's sort of typical to see businesses allocate a certain amount of gross revenue or net revenue or gross sales or something to marketing, and a fair amount of that marketing budget would go to paid media advertising, the kind of things we're talking about. There's some back and forth on this, but I think generally the research and kind of experience is, in a downtime, you still want to advertise. So if your sales are down, you still want to keep your ad spend up to keep your competitive position, keep the brand awareness, brand equity in the market. So when things do circle around, which they do, that's the business cycle, you'll still be at the front. And in fact, some argue in a down market, you should probably advertise more, because you're going to maybe have a competitive advantage to get some mind share, if you will, from your competitor. But still, you got to run a business, and you explored that in the survey also. We've seen some examples of, okay, well, we're going to have to raise prices, but we're going to show it. Here's what you paid for, X last week, and it's going to be X plus 10%, and that 10% is because of tariffs. But some people in government don't like to see that, and some of the businesses are saying, well, you know what, our costs may increase, but we have a loyal customer base. We're going to eat some of the profit margin here. We don't expect this to last long. So rather than, jump up and down with pricing, we're going to try to absorb some of this price increase and take a hit on margin and hope, like you're saying, these 44% of businesses at least see growth. And so maybe we'll take a bit of a hit on margin, but maybe we'll actually grow and increase top line revenue by bringing in new customers with a more advantageous pricing strategy than our competitors. Since we're holding our pricing steady and eating it on margin, unless we're able to grow total units sold with new customers or even with existing customers. In the economics of how to run a business, you had several questions in there. What kind of insights did you get from the answers to those sets of questions?
Well, I guess the simple answer is there's no one size fits all magic bullet solution. It differs by vertical, by geography, by seasonality. But sometimes the short answer is to raise prices. But actually, our survey indicated a few other things that are pretty interesting. One, the emergence of AI, and it's really reinvigorated the conversation about the use of technology to cut costs and drive efficiencies, which can help save some money to not have to pass on to the consumer. And for a local business owner, their business is more than a pastime. Like we mentioned before, it's a passion, a livelihood, and they'll do whatever it takes to really deter economic headwinds. So 3 of the top data points in the survey of how businesses will approach these challenges in a new environment is to incentivize or newer different way. So interesting, when money was cheaper, when interest rates were down, there were a lot more for HVAC. Let's take as an example, offers to replace your HVAC. Now it's more offers to service your HVAC. So you're still using the tools, but you're changing the offer and the value proposition. So that's a really interesting way. Another thing is to try new marketing channels. Google SEM has been the tried and true method for a while, but in their recent report, they've seen in the first time in their history, click-through rates go down a little bit and they're becoming more expensive. So local businesses are trying new advertising channels that they've never tried before. And this is a good time to experiment to see, is there something else out there that could work? And then some even said they would lower price points, which I thought was interesting because if you really think about it from a game theory perspective, I mean, it could be a great time to shift market share if the expectation is that the tariff concern will be a one-time pricing event, transitory, or that inflation will normalize at some point. If you lower price points and give consumers a lifeline during a time when they need it most, that can create real customer loyalty. So not saying it's for every business, but some businesses are indicating that could be a strategy as well.
That makes sense. And I'd be kind of curious to see the different strategies of the different business sectors. But yeah, I've definitely seen that, instead of promoting the thing, it's servicing the thing because people need that. And that's, and that's a need that's persistent. If their refrigerator doesn't work, it doesn't work, so I'd like to see if I get a service before I have to buy a new one.
100%.
And you had mentioned businesses this may be a time where they're open to different ways of thinking about things, and the services that you outlined that you bring to your clients are amazing, and taking away a lot of the complexity, and even learning all the services that you make available probably is somewhat complex even for the businesses that, they probably just say, whoa, okay, yes, I'm glad you're doing this for me. So, Valpak is Valpak. Everybody knows it. We talked earlier about the digital channels, mobile, and some of the other things that go on there. Are the businesses that you work with more open to digital now? And you kind of outline all the data strategies. Anything else to cover in that space that seems interesting?
Yeah, so I mean, I like to say we like to optimize campaigns based on the best ways to connect with consumers. I mean, obviously, our pedigree has been a direct mail company. We understand the emergence of digital and CTV and other channels. But our approach and what truly differentiates us is our data. So what we build is a data engine. It's called My Blue Insights, and we leverage a data stack to build it. It's a series of first-party data, offer insights, and billions of other attributes on the household. I mean, we can track an entire new mover journey from when the time a for sale sign goes in the yard all the way through the next home they move to. A lot of other new mover programs are based on national change of address, which, according to certain data points, only 60% of people actually file a national change of address in enough of a period of time that would make sense to advertise to them. So we track home values. We have credit score modeling, net worth. We could even look and see if a driveway is gravel or paved. We can get that granular. So what we like to do is when we combine these insights with our partners' CRM data, we could build very sophisticated models that guide spend across all media channels, not just print and digital. Our goal is to help them optimize their insights for spend, even if it's not with us. We want to become their data partner that drives what makes sense. So whether it's digital, traditional, opening a new market, determining where to staff techs, we provide resources to our partners to drive their best outcomes for their business need. I was working with a CMO who's become a good friend of mine. And when we had lunch one time, he says, I have 192 vendors, but I trust data from 3 partners, Google, Facebook, and Valpak. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, we're on to something here.
Lunch is on me.
Yeah.
That's excellent and not surprising, I'll have to say, given all the cool things that you're doing. So you mentioned partnerships, and another type of partnership that you work with, media partnerships, publishers, other big brands like Paramount, Disney, Warner Brothers, and some kind of niche brands like the Tennis Channel. How do you work with these media companies?
Yeah, it's a great question. We love our media partners. They're great consumer engagement partners. They help us stay relevant with consumers. We help them drive listenership, viewership. So brands that advertise with Valpak, they get unparalleled reach, precise targeting, formats that engage with our consumers. I mean, we have built and maintained a 90% open rate for many years. I think last survey it was 93%, with 85% saying they open and look through every offer. So iHeart, for example, has been a tremendous partner for years. And this summer, actually, we're leveraging our data to drive listenership for both their terrestrial and streaming channels, aligning artists that appeal most to genre guided by our insights. So, for example, we'll feature Luke Combs for our country lovers and Kendrick Lamar to our hip hop enthusiasts. So we customize campaign for these partners based on their distinct need, whether it's TV, radio, or streaming subscriptions. And we're actually working with iHeart right now in a holiday program that's going to come together for December to support local advertisers. So more to come on that exciting partnership in the next few weeks here.
Well, that's good. I'm definitely going to look forward to that. And yeah, it's interesting. It's June already. Wow. And yeah, it makes perfect sense to be thinking about the holiday season, but where does the year go? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's right on to be thinking about that now. Okay, so I'm inspired by your survey, the results. Some of them are intriguing. Some are like, yep, that makes sense, and some are, wow, okay, that's didn't know. So it was really useful survey, and I'm sure you're going to be sharing that survey out. We'll come back and talk to that. But so now I'm inspired to do my own survey, and my target population is one person. I'm going to ask Jay Loeffler. So 2025, we're looking at the second half. We're looking at the happy space of the holiday season, hopefully. There's so much frustrating things going on, uncertain things going on. People are anxious. The information that they need to respond to from a business perspective, let alone in our personal lives, changes literally on a daily basis. But somewhere in there, there's happiness. So let me ask you, what about this year, from the context of business, local advertising and marketing, and so on? And you've already shared some things from your survey and some of the other insights you've spoken to. But what are some of the happy spaces that you expect we'll have before the year's out?
Yeah, I mean, if I could look and extract everything I'm hearing from talking to local advertisers to national advertisers, the survey, I think the thing that's most exciting for me and for local business is that 6 out of 10 business owners, they still expect their revenue and profitability to increase over the next year. And more than 3/4 plan to increase spend to attract new customers. So as I think about why this might be, I mean, unfortunately, to some degree, I think that business owners have become more accustomed to uncertainty and the psychology behind. We've just went through COVID. We've seen a presidential change. We've had a lot of change in policy, but we've seen that we keep on rebounding as a society and we keep on spending and we keep on growing. So I think the not being reactive and pulling back, but just embracing the change and using different tools to adapt with it is really the key learning here. So even with uncertainty, there's an opportunity for us to step up as leaders in the media industry to guide our advertising partners with critical information, not only about their advertising, but what's happening in your local economy, what's happening in your competition, how are national partners coming in to impact your local space, what do you need to do to stay competitive and keep customers coming in? That's the type of advisement that our local partners need across the country. And if we can continue doing that, I think we can help them really win at a critical time.
I agree. And it's, there are challenging times, there are less challenging times. There's always something going on. And, if you look at the history of business and society, I guess, we have bad moments, but we kind of figure it out, move on. And your answer, I think, speaks to that very, very powerfully. And it's at moments like this, I recall a scene from the original Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum. And it's like, we can stop this. These dinosaurs won't reproduce. We have the fix for it. And his answer was, nature always finds a way. And so it's like, no matter what challenges or roadblocks you throw at these businesses to try to, it's like discourage them out of business, they're going to find a way. And, that's exactly what you said. And I believe it.
100%.
Anything else? This has been wonderful. Thank you for coming back to join us. And I know our audience enjoys you. I do. Any other final thoughts?
No, this has been absolutely wonderful. And we look forward to continuing kind of to educate on our data message and all the new tools that we have. And I think I always talk to advertisers and I say, if I can convince you of one thing, it's that Valpak is not just a direct mail company anymore. Right. We really want to be a partner in multiple different facets, but it's really the data that separates us.
Right.
And for all the listeners out there, I just want to let them know that the survey will be available after this podcast is released here at valpak.com/BIA. And you can access all of the economic data that we talked about here on this podcast.
I definitely encourage people to check that out. It's a fantastic resource. Jay, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your data, thoughts, insights, and, optimism. We can use some of that. We always appreciate and value your time with us, and congratulations to you and your company for the success and the valuable services you're bringing to the marketplace. Good luck in the second half of the year, and hopefully you make the holidays happier for all of your clients and their customers. And for everyone listening out there, thank you for joining us as well. We do this for you. We hope we give you good information and maybe a little entertainment on the side. We look forward to bringing more insightful conversations on local media and advertising throughout the year ahead. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the BIA Leading Local Insights podcast. Stay a part of our community by subscribing so you never miss an episode. And we want to hear from you. What topics do you want us to dive into next? Email your ideas to podcast@bia.com.